welcome to part 4. I want to thank you for sticking with this. I hope you found it informative. Now, how can we wrap up a discussion on artificial intelligence without touching on Elon Musk? After all, he is a bigwig in that field. Enjoy the video and have fun.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, way back in the early part of the 20th century, the last part of the 19th century, there did develop this division between what was then called the social gospel and what was called the fundamental, which came to the. In fact, the term fundamentalist actually came from a series of books or articles called the Fundamentals
Hmm.
that were written at the beginning of the 20th century, and there just became this gap between the fundamentalists and what came to be known as, well, it started out as social gospel, then it became known as liberals.
Mm.
And I don't really think that that is what God intended. I think that people who are fundamentalists need to have a little bit more concern with the welfare of their fellow man.
Yes.
And the people that are so-called liberals or social gospel people need to have a little more concern about eternity. So,
Um.
so both sides need to come closer together. But I'm not going to say you sound like a liberal. You don't really, because after talking with you at this time, I
No.
don't. I think you're right. Your theology is conservative, but you do have compassion for others, which would be natural for you because you have things you've had to overcome in life, and so you've done that, and you've also seen the way people have mistreated other people, and so you're going to be sensitive, very much sensitive to that. Whereas of somebody else, they might say on paper, so to speak, they have compassion, but because of the things they've went through in life or the things they've not gone through in life,
Mm-hmm.
they don't have as much overt compassion and concern for people
No.
because their mind is consumed with the things of this world,
Mm.
more than it is with making sure that people are treated right. So I think there's a balance here. It's just that when I read this, uh, it was the way that it said it. Uh, let's look at the next one: human
Good.
dignity and worth. Many religious beliefs emphasize the importance of human dignity. Now, see, now it's gone more general.
Mm.
Many religious beliefs. I mean, that could be from any religion.
That's true.
Almost. Many religious beliefs emphasize the importance of human dignity and the unique value of every individual. This perspective can help promote the development of AI technologies that respect and enhance human life rather than undermine or exploit it. And then that goes right back to our question about the dangers, doesn't it? The ethical values and the things that need to be addressed there and concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and then number 3 here. Let's see. Community and collaboration. Religious communities can serve as forums for discussion and collaboration on AI related issues. By bringing together people with diverse perspectives and expertise, religious communities can contribute to the development of more inclusive and ethically and responsible AI scene. So, without labeling this as liberal or conservative or whatever, even just reading this, the several questions we've asked and the answers have been given, the idea of inclusivity seems to be, how can I say, baked in?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, baked into the responses. We got to be inclusive. We got to be inclusive. And that's where the problem is.
Yeah.
From my point of view, Jesus said, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life.
Mm-hmm.
No one, and no one means no one.
Can come before the
No
Father
one is
except through
not
Him.
inclusive. Is
Yeah.
that what you just said? No one is not inclusive. No one comes to me or comes to the Father except through
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
See, and that's where the conflict will arise.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at this. A spiritual perspective. A spiritual perspective on AI may remind us of the limitations of technology.
That's true.
And I think that's what you were pointing out earlier about people just believing what they read instead of engaging in critical thinking.
Mm.
And that also goes along with what Elon Musk was saying in that interview with Tucker Carlson, that his
Yep.
greatest fear was that AI would progress to the point where it wouldn't need our input. It could actually create its own input. And in programming, I do some programming. That's called a recursive program.
Yep.
And that basically means you have a function that calls itself over and over again because you've got this big, huge problem and it's so huge and complex that you can't just call that function one time and get the answer. You need to call that function over and over and over again to kind of break the problem down into smaller and smaller pieces.
Mm.
And what you do then is you solve the smallest possible part of the problem that you can with that same function, not a different one. You solve the smallest possible problem with that function, and then they called it going back up the stack. You solve the bigger problem by repeating the solution you found for the simplest problem. And applying that to artificial intelligence, and I'm probably going to get lambasted by computer people, but because I probably just totally wrecked that whole concept. But the idea is it'll get to the point where AI will not even need our input in order to come to a conclusion. But that conclusion will be based on what? It's like you said earlier. It'll be based on what it was given.
That's right.
Based on what it was fed.
Yeah.
And then the danger is because, well, two dangers. Number one, I think Elon pointed this out. It'll be so good at writing and so good at communicating, it won't be clunky anymore. It'll be so good at it that you won't be able to tell whether or not this was written by artificial intelligence or whether it was written by a real human being.
Yeah. And Google is right now working on things, even to sharpen it even better and better. That's why Elon, and that's why the guy at Gab was probably responding to what it was. And that's why you're probably putting that extra stress, not because he wanted to sound like a nut job, but because he was trying to alert people. And sometimes you have to alarm people to get them people off their butt. I'm sorry, but conservatives have a tendency to complain and not move and do.
Right.
And that is a reality. That's why somebody like me gets like, but yeah, we do need this thing. And yet, and Christians, especially to recognize that, shouldn't say to themselves, oh, they don't want, no, they need us. They need Christians to get involved in that and not just leave it. And I'm thinking right to the conservative Christians that are watching, I hope, that you shouldn't just leave it to the liberal Christian to get off their butt and do. We need to get off our butt and we listen to what the Holy Spirit and guide. But also, I know that the Lord is able to pull the plug, but the thing is, we need to and not live in fear. I know you guys got a whole ton of information, but the point is to make you aware and not live in fear like, oh no, hey, hold on. Why do you suppose Isaac Asimov, Arthur C. Clarke, the great, all these others were wanted? It wasn't to scare you, but make you aware that, hey, this is the potential danger and the potential good. Be aware of what's going on. They've been saying that since the 50s and 60s. So when I listen to Elon, I'm like, dude, you're not saying anything new.
Right. Right. The only thing that concerned me in that interview that I watched was where he had said that he was associated with somebody earlier on. I don't know who it was, where he was from. I don't want to misspeak. But
he was the guy who was the CEO of Google, I believe.
I think, well, yeah, I think maybe you're right. I think that's who it was he was initially involved in this with, and why he left AI so that it used to be open source, and the idea was, everybody will have a ability to be involved in the development of this.
Mm,
And now it's not open source anymore.
no.
And open source just simply means it's not owned by one entity, one company, or one person. But he said one of his major concerns with that guy, and one of the reasons that he left that early on, was because that guy was interested in creating an artificial intelligence that could be a god.
Yeah. He would call
And
Elon a species. Oh, how species of you! How dare you think of humans, or and all that.
yeah, well, but I mean, I can, how I don't know if I said this to you during the podcast earlier or if it was before we got online. But a good debater is able to debate for either
Yeah, oh,
side
yeah.
of an issue without getting emotionally involved. And from a purely human point of view, not taking into consideration scripture or prophecy or anything like that, there's a sense in which having an artificial intelligence like that could give us all the answers and just be a god and resolve all the conflicts in the world. I mean, wow, wouldn't that be great? Because it'd be something that we created as human beings, and it doesn't require us to have any faith in an unseen spiritual realm or an unseen spiritual God. Why? Because, well, it's right there. I mean, there's the database, there's the computer power, there's the physical structure. Barry, we could just bow down and worship it, and it would show
Yeah.
us, it would give us the answer for everything. And there wouldn't be any conflict. There wouldn't be any
Oh,
division. Why? Because if you opened your mouth and said anything, it could just kill you and get you out of the way. And we wouldn't be responsible for the
mm,
AI that did it, not me. But it would keep us all in line. It would bring world peace because nobody'd be able to question it.
uh-huh. And yet, when the Lord led the children of Israel out of Israel, and no, out of Egypt, had they seen the all power and all that, what did they do? They questioned.
Right.
They did, and it didn't matter that God was very visibly leading, and some people probably questioned, came up with their own
Oh, yeah.
thing. No, the problem is this: even if we did something like this, human nature, we have a corrupt nature that
Right.
will cause us to either rebel, question, whatever. It doesn't work. And I didn't get this just from reading the scriptures. Yeah, if you have an issue with that, go talk to Isaac Asimov. Go talk to Arthur C. Clarke. Go talk to the Protestant atheists who wrote. They did a better job warning than the modern day prophets do today.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I think the bottom line, Jesus said this. He said, "Do not fear those who can kill the body and do
Yep.
no more, but fear him who, after the killing of the body, has power to cast both body and soul
Mm-hmm.
into hell." And then he reemphasized the importance of that statement by saying, "Yes, I tell you, fear him."
Mm-hmm.
So I think the answer to today's podcast: do we need to fear? Do Christians need to fear artificial intelligence? No, we don't need to fear artificial intelligence. What we need to do is fear the Lord. The
Yep.
fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
and the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
True. Oh, good grief. And it helps to know that God wanted to have free will. He chose, God who knew everything that was going to happen. Yet he gave human beings the ability to have free will and to make decisions for ourselves. Guess what? This AI thing that's being talked about sounds like we wouldn't have free will. Oh, but that's not what God wants us to be able to ask questions,
Right.
to come to Him. He wants us to freely come to Him, and yet then that corrupt nature will continue until we, and even if you surrender, like, man, now we're going to get into a fun talk of Arminian and Calvinism, which we can save
Yeah.
for another day.
Yeah, we can save that for another day.
Yes, yes, I know a fellow who probably would love to join in, and he is, well, right now, I think he's a tentative open theist, Dan Kent.
Okay.
And who knows? Maybe I should.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Randy, and thanks for coming. And I think we can wrap up.
Right.
What do you think?
Thank you for having me on the podcast again, Barry. I
It's a
really enjoy
pleasure.
be working with you, and thank you very much.
Oh, it's a pleasure. All right, folks. I hope you have a blessed day, and see you when we see you.
Bye, everybody.